Good evening, everybody. You're all very welcome to the first webinar in our series with Get a Business Online. My name's Anne Halloran, and I'm delighted tonight to welcome Carl Trent, who's going to talk to us about how he's made a success of his website, Dad's Guide to WaltDisneyWorld.com. So with no further ado, I think I'll just pass over to you, Carl.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carl Trent. I am a somewhat successful webmaster, at least a little bit successful, and Anne has asked me to tell you my story tonight. I want to go ahead and get started, see if we can get this rolling, and I don't seem to have control.
Okay, let me just try again. Now, how's that?
Now, there we go.
Okay.
All right. Here I am and my family. Just want to start with telling you a little bit about me. I'm a 50-something-year-old father of two. You can see my kids there. That picture was taken in 2008. It's a little old. They're grown a little older through the years. My wife there, we've been married for 35 years. We live in a beautiful little town in Oklahoma City, just outside Oklahoma City, where it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not late in the evening, like some of you. And through the years, I have loved Walt Disney World. It's my passion, my love. It's what I love to do, and that's kind of why I got into the Walt Disney World niche. I was looking for something to get into, and one day we were planning a trip to Walt Disney World, and I tried to find out if one of the hotels had a hairdryer. And I tried the Disney site. The Disney site didn't say anything. I tried one of the other major sites. It said, yes, there are hair dryers in all the hotels. And then I tried another major site. Well, no, there are not hair dryers in these hotels. And so I decided I wanted to put together some kind of information place where you could find out what really was going on about Walt Disney World. A little more about me. I have a really cool day job. I am a full-time government employee for the federal government in the United States. If you look down at the bottom line there, you can see my title. I love acronyms, you know, ATCS, AT2152, yeah, all that. You know, I hate acronyms really, but that's my title. I am a supervisor at the Oklahoma City Air Traffic Control Tower. Been doing it for 26 years. One of the problems with being an air traffic controller, you know, one of the good things is I get to tell some of the most arrogant people in the world what to do, and they do it. But one of the problems is that I have to retire at age 55. So I knew I was not ready to, would not be ready to retire at age 55. So I needed some kind of retirement job, and about 5-6 years ago I started looking for what I would do after retirement. And I decided, hey, why not get involved with the internet? About that time, Walt Disney World came out with what they called a Moms Panel. And pretty cool. You get to go to Disney World. Disney pays for you to go to Disney World. And all you have to do is answer questions online for the Moms Panel. Well, the second year it was open, they actually said, okay, guys, you can participate too. We'll look for some guys on the Moms Panel. So, wow, okay, cool. I'll send my application in. They quickly rejected it, and I was kind of hurt. I was depressed for all of 10 seconds. And for an air traffic controller, that's a long time. So for 10 seconds, I was depressed, and I vowed right there to get revenge. So here's my revenge. My revenge is Dad's Guide to WDW.com. On Dad's Guide to WDW, I talk about all kinds of stuff, everything Disney, from what's in the hotel rooms to what's the best day of the year to go to Walt Disney World. It's all there. Through the years, I tried other things. I've done travel agent stuff for a while, so I've got kind of a varied background in lots of travel things, which has helped me as I went through and built my Disney site. As I was going through and trying to find out how to get started building websites, I tried a couple on the travel agent on my own. You know, if you build it, they will come. Well, they don't. They don't show up. And I kept reading about this thing called SBI. Every time I would Google about how to build a website, this SBI thing kept coming up. And I started investigating it. And through 6-8 months of investigation, I read reviews over reviews, and I only found one bad review of SBI. And that negative review was, it just takes too much work. It's just too much work. It's too hard. And I thought, well, you know, if that's the worst thing anybody can say about it, there's got to be something good there. So finally, in about September of 2008, I took the plunge, I got started, and I put up my first page on my website. Now, it's not get rich quick. I found that out real quick. You know, my idea was, I'm so smart, I'm so good, all I got to do is build it, and people will show up. They'll love me, they'll flock to me, they'll start spending all their money with me. But it just didn't happen that way. It took a while. In fact, in 2010, nearly 2 years after I first started, I didn't make very much money. And 2010 was by far better than the year before. So 2010, you can see I made $2,600 in 2010. And I was getting pretty frustrated. I was spending a lot of time, I was working hard, but it just didn't seem to be working. So at the end of 2010, I put the site up for sale. I just said, I've had enough. Somebody take this thing off my hands. Well, not really. I put a pretty hefty price tag on it because I thought it was a pretty good site. And I got a lot of feedback. I only got one offer for the site. It was about for a third of what I was asking. But I got a lot of feedback saying, whoa, you don't want to sell this. You've got a gold mine here. You know, you got to just keep at it. You're right at the point where you should be growing, and just be patient. Just be patient. So I did. I kept at it. We kept going. 2011 was a lot better, as you can see. $14,000 in 2011. It's pretty good money for part-time. Things grew quite a bit. As you can see there, Google was about half of my income in 2011. We'll talk a little bit later about all the income streams, but you know, I tested a lot of things. I worked with a lot of things. I tried a lot of things to see what would bring income, what would work, and what didn't. And this year, things have gotten even better. This year, I'm on course to bring in a little over to actually deposit a little over $30,000. That's pretty good for part-time money, working just part-time. So been fairly successful. The revenue streams, I've done away with some of them. You know, I do a lot of testing. I try something. If it doesn't work, I take it off. If it works, I expand it. You know, Google's down to 36% of my income. Next year, I hope that to be about 25% of my income. You'll see down in the green, the Nexion. That's for part of the year last year, this year, the first part of the year last year and a little bit this year. I tried doing travel agent stuff on my own. As being a travel agent formerly, I tried to go ahead and book trips on my own and get commissions out of that. And while it worked and I did pretty well, it was just too much time. I didn't have any other time. I really wasn't having time to put into the site. It took up so much time. So earlier this year, I made a deal with, or actually in 2011, I made a deal with Pixie and Pirate Destinations. That's the orange, the PPD. They're a travel agent, and I made a deal with them. All of my requests for trips go to them, and they book trips. This year, 2012, we've booked right at 100 trips to Disney World, and in 2013, we already have over 100 trips booked for 2013. So that's going very well, and that's going to be one of my primary sources of monetization as we move forward. That light blue there, touringplans.com, is a another Disney site that has a product that they sell. And I was their first affiliate, and I send them about 75 to 100 people a month. Well, I send them more than that, but they actually sell 75 to 100 of their product every month on my site. So, you know, monetization streams are important. You've got to look at what works for your site. Up at the top, you'll see the little ebook thing. Like everybody else, I was told I needed an ebook. So I went out and I wrote an ebook. Don't know if it was the marketing or the way I actually put the ebook together, but it just didn't sell. I sold, like for the year, I sold $400 worth of ebooks, and that's just not very much. So that didn't work. So I'm taking that off of my site and put other things on. I do have other plans for monetization this in 2013, going a totally different way and adding some kind of educational piece to my site, and something that I've produced on my own. Everything else so far has been something that somebody else does and pays me a commission. I need something that I can sell that's my own, and that's the goal for 2013. I think this might be a good time. We'll back up, and you got any questions about any of that? If you do, you can just raise your hand.
Yeah, or maybe just even type it in the chat window, actually. It might be the easiest for now. And, well, I just suppose just to sum up there, you seem to be making an awful lot of money now from affiliate sales. That's your main monetizing plan, I think. Is it? Would that be right, Carl?
That would be right.
Yeah.
Most of it comes from affiliate sales. You know, Google AdSense is about a third, or a little more than a third. The other two, the Nexion, the Pixie, and Pirate, the direct sales is about a third, and the rest, the affiliate links are about a third.
Okay, and did you just add those like one at a time and tested them before you added another? I presume that was the way you did it.
No, I started with several different, and I probably started with 4 or 5 different monetization paths, and you know, as they didn't work or as they worked, I would expand them. If they didn't work, I would take them off. It's like let's look at one, info links. Some of you are probably familiar with info links. It's where they put text links, and you click on the text link and you get money from that. And for a while, those worked really well on my site. I got to where it was bringing in around $200 a month, which was a pretty good income stream. And then all of a sudden, it went, one month was 200, the next month was 100, and the next month was about 75. Sorry about the phone. My wife will answer that. And then, so I took it off. It went to 40, and I took it off. They actually got a hold of me and requested that I come back, and I said, I can't do that. And I tried them a couple more weeks. It didn't have any effect, so I've taken info links off of my site. They're pretty ugly anyway.
Okay, well now you've got a day job, so how much time a week would you be spending on your website, especially in the earlier years maybe, because we've got a lot of students listening in now who've got very new websites and it's all quite new to them. So,
right.
You know, in comparison, how much time did you spend in the earlier days on your website?
Every minute I could work in, especially in the early days. It was passion. It was do it whenever you can, spend as much time as you can. I probably spent 3 to 4 hours a day every day on it. Now I'll spend 2 to 3 hours a day. Weekends I'll spend 5 or 6 hours a day. On Saturday, 3 or 4 hours on Sunday. Not as much on Sunday because I still do church, and we have some. Sunday is our getaway day, so I don't spend as much time on Sunday. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. And
so you have to be passionate, don't you? Yeah, you've got to be very passionate about what you're doing. I just got a comment in here from Susan. She said, Carl, I remember seeing your forum post when you wanted to sell your site. So glad you hung on and learned how to monetize better. Just wanted to comment that your story really demonstrates the value of being open to always learning. Congratulations. So that's a nice comment from Susan. Okay, I think that's it, Carl. If you want to move on.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, here we go. My challenges. I nothing ever goes 100% right, and none of us are perfect. We all have challenges. We all have things we deal with. One of the things that I deal with all the time in my job, and it's kind of a requirement of my job, is I'm a bit ADD. I don't really get focused on things. In fact, as I was working the other day, I was working on one page, which led me to something else I needed to change, which led me to another page, which led me, and before I knew it, I was 5 pages away from the one I originally started on. And there's a reason why Ken it keeps pushing back. The site sale people keep pushing back on letting you save a page while you're working on it, because I do upload your own. I build my own pages, and I will have 10, 15 pages open because I've gotten distracted. Also, the other night I was sitting down in front of the TV with my laptop, which I intend to do, which is probably not a good idea. I was sitting in front of the TV with my laptop and turned on the TV, and there was this TV show called Castle. It's a nice little cop show, pretty interesting. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, I'd watched 3 hours of Castle and hadn't gotten much work done. So I'm pretty easily distracted. That's something you'll have to work with. What are the distractions that cause you problems every day? What kind of time pressures? We'll talk about time pressures in a minute. What kind of time can you devote? And when you devote that time, are you going to be able to devote that time, or are you going to get distracted? Are you going to work on the page you start on? Are you going to move off into other things and not focus on what you need to focus on? Another problem I have is while I love to make plans, I don't always follow them. For my site, I don't have a plan. I really don't. I never have. I know that the action guide, SBI, says you make a plan of attack, and that's a great idea. You need to do that. I haven't done it. That's a problem I have. So if something catches my eye, I'll go work on that instead of continuing through what I need to work on, what the best pages are to build. This year I am making a plan for 2013 because I've got a lot of projects I want to get done. So I want to make a plan for how I'm going to attack them. Hopefully I'll do a better job of that this year. That is my goal in 2013, is to be better at planning. While Walt Disney World is my love, my passion, what I want to do, it's a horrible niche, or niche as we would say in Oklahoma. It's a horrible niche. It's very competitive. There is a big player in the market. You Google anything major about Disney, and Walt Disney Company is going to be number one. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. They're going to win the top 3, 4 slots. They're just everywhere. If you want to talk about a Disney hotel, you're not going to win that. If I ever got onto the first page of Google for Disney World, I'd be a multimillionaire. It's just that big. It's a huge, huge niche. At Disney World, at Walt Disney World, there are 25 hotels. There are 300 restaurants. There are 4 theme parks. There's 2 water parks. There's 2 shopping areas. It's just massive. It's 27,000 acres. There's way too much to write about. I have 700 or 800 pages on my main site that are about Disney World, and I'm probably about a third of the way through the pages I need to write for the parks and the restaurants and the hotels. So it's a huge site, and it's way too much to deal with, and that was part of my frustration when I went to sell the website. I was overwhelmed by what I needed to do and by how much I needed to put up. I also deal with time pressures, like we all do, like everybody will when you start building a website. There's just not enough hours in a day with a full-time job. with family, with things going on. There's just never enough time for anything that we do. So the time pressures are hard to deal with. What can I do? How do I allot my time? What time do I need to spend with the family? You know, how do I keep them happy and keep this going? Because my competitors in the Disney World niche are full-time people. They have staffs. There's writers, full-time writers, and so the time pressures are pretty difficult. But that's true of everything we do. It's just learning how to allot your time and spending the right amount of time at doing the right things, not wasting time. Another of my problems that I deal with is, and this is one that I really struggle with, and it's my own fault, but it's something I need to remedy, but it's one of those time things. Most of my traffic comes from Google searches. It's not good to be reliant on Google. You see the 64%, actually that number is a lot lower than it has been. It's usually been up around 70%. I get most of my traffic from Google. That's a two-edged sword. It could go away at any time. If you've been in the business any time at all, you've heard of Panda and Penguin, which has devastated people's sites. They didn't really touch mine, although I'm going through a little downturn right now. You would like to diversify your traffic a little more. The referral traffic, that number should be probably 25 to 30%. What that means is I haven't gotten out and gotten traffic from other sources. I do get quite a bit of traffic from Facebook, from my Facebook page, but I really haven't gotten out to broaden my traffic streams, and that's something I need to do this year, and one of the things I'm going to work on this year. But it is one of the challenges I face. There are some things I got right. You know, it sounds like, hey, you didn't do anything right. Well, there are a few things I got right through the years. The first thing is me. I got me right. I got my voice right. If you go to my site, if you look, I'm very affable. I'm very easily approachable. I've got places where you can ask me questions, very open, very happy type voice. Trustworthy, build trust, communications. You know, my tagline is, I know Disney. Dad knows Disney. The dad thing is another big thing. The dad thing. I want to build that authority figure. You know, dads are authority figures. I'm that authority figure. Dad knows Disney. Dads, we trust our dads. So there's that. I've gotten that right. People, I get all kinds of notes and words about, Dad, you're right, you know, Dad, yeah, you know, and I also talk about my family. I bring my family. I'm very humanized. Mrs. Mom, my wife is Mrs. Mom. I talk about her all the time. Talk about the kids. My daughter is the princess. She's a little princess, always has been. And my son is the man-child. He's the big lumbering boy that, you know, so very humanized. So my voice, trust, trying to build that trust. I like to help people. Everything I do is about how can I help you. The audience, you know, we all go through the exercises to pick out our audience. And when I went through mine, I was thinking I was going to build this manly site where guys could come and talk about Disney, and I could go help guys as they went on about planning a Disney trip. Well, it turned out after a couple of years, and I started looking at the audience figures on Alexa and noticing who was sending in questions, that my site's about 62, 63, 64% women. So I kind of adjusted the way I talked. And, you know, I kind of downplayed the manly stuff and just try to know my audience, who my target audience is, you know who I'm talking to and what they respond to. I really big on trying to figure out what they're thinking, and how I can solve their problems. So that is one thing I've got right, is my audience. Another one is patterns. I know a lot of people will tell you not to look at your statistics. You spend all your time looking at statistics, and while that is a little bit true, there is reasons to look at your statistics, especially when it comes to the keywords, what people are looking for. This is from 2009, and you can see this is about the time I figured out my first big page that draws traffic. 2009, number 1 there, attendance. Number 4, crowds. Number 6, crowd calendar. Number 8, crowd predictor. Number 13, crowds in June. Number 11, crowds in June. This was in May, so people were wanting to know about June. 14, Disney World attendance. I started noticing a pattern that people were looking for crowd information. So one of the first major things I focused on was Disney World crowds. And this is kind of after I started, so I was starting to get some results out of the Disney World crowd. And that is one sub-niche that Disney doesn't get into. So I found my first major sub-niche back in mid-2009 and started trying to make that something that I could dominate. 2011, here I started in my second. I started noticing, look at number 9, best time to visit Disney World. Started noticing I was getting a lot of hits on something like that. Number 18, best day to visit the Magic Kingdom. I had answered a question. One of the things I had done through the years was set up a page where people could ask me questions and I would answer them. I've done over 600 through the last 3 years. And one of the questions I had answered was, when is the best time to visit Disney World? And it was just a Content 2.0 question that I had answered. And I took that and I turned that into a main page and started promoting it. And as you can see on this next slide, this is this year, the 2012, from January 1st through about Thanksgiving Day, middle to end of November. That page is my number 1 page. It has been all year, has been for a while. It overtook crowds about the end of last year as the number 1 page. As you can see in the entrances, 84,000 people this year, 84,000 entrances on that 1 page. Right now it's number 2 on Google, as well. Yesterday when I looked it was number 2. For about 3 months this year it got up to number 1 when you Google for best time to visit Disney World. So it ranks real high for all of those keywords about when to visit Disney World, cheapest time to visit Disney World. So that was one sub-niche I found, 2 sub-niches I found. The crowds, the number 2 sub-niche. I've got it up to number 2 at one time, and it kind of fell down. I was down at 5 or 6 now for Disney World crowds. Now I'm back up to 4, 3 or 4, somewhere along there. And I'm putting some effort into that one this year to publicize it, because even though I have those 2 really nice pages, they're not just static. Traffic will come to those pages and then go to other pages. As you can see, the bounce rate on those 2 pages are both less than 30%. So people that come to those pages will hit 4, 5, 6 other pages. And so as you can see in this list, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, and those are all off of one of those 2 pages. Disney World crowds. In fact, December, November, since this was done in November, those are high. I have one for each month of the Disney World crowds, and I get a lot of traffic that comes to my site through those pages. But if you were to do a search on whether those were good numbers, you would never find the November, December Disney World crowds. They don't come up in any number searches, but they do drive a lot of traffic to my site. That's another thing. Oh, questions. Anybody have a question at this time, Ian?
Okay, well, yeah, if you just want to type in something there in the chat window, if there's something you'd like to ask. So I suppose what you're saying really, Carl, is it's very important not to be just building pages blind, but trying to find out, well, what are people actually looking for? And
Absolutely.
respond to that. Yeah, because I remember
Yes.
when I started building practical management skills, I had about 10 different subject areas, but there was 3 or 4 of them that were getting the most of the traffic. So I tried to focus in on those. And pages for me are like what is teamwork and what is conflict. You know, if I could write pages on what is forever, and I think that they do well, you know, because I suppose in my case, it's practical management skills, I get a lot of students, I'd imagine, coming on looking for definitions and things like that.
And the thing about the crowd pages and those other pages is they're not really sexy. They're not really fun. I'd rather a whole lot rather talk about some of the rides, but I'll never be able to dominate in the ride categories like I can in the crowd categories.
Yeah, okay, and did get a very good question in here now. You know, these heavily trafficked pages, are these good for monetizing?
Good question. We'll go look. Both of those pages, those people are looking, especially the ones that come in on the crowds pages, those people are looking to book trips because they're wanting to know when they are. So on each of those pages, there's a couple of monetization streams on them. The first one is the touringplans.com, because the touringplans.com is about crowds, and it's even a lot more in depth than it's a whole site about Disney World crowds, and it's a subscription site, so they charge for their site. So one of my major monetizations revenue streams is to sell those subscriptions, and so every month I'm selling 75 to 100, and that comes mainly from these pages. Another thing that people are looking when they're looking at this, they're getting ready to book a trip, so I have my travel agent information on there, and so I get a lot of requests for quotes off of those pages too. So absolutely, I try not to build any pages that don't have some kind of revenue, revenue stream on them.
I think what's really smart about what you're doing, Carl, is that you're not just putting any kind of monetization on a page. You're thinking, why is that visitor on my page? What are they looking for? And what are they most likely going to give me money for? Which I think is great, you know.
Right.
It's really reading your audience. Now, I did get another question from Martha. She wants to know how you handle AdSense. You know, do you put AdSense on pages where the keywords don't rank?
And that's a good question, and we'll just skip down to that because that's one of the things I've done right. I don't follow the herd. The herd tells you just to put AdSense on the pages that do well. I slap it on every page. It's in an include file. It goes on every page. I got 3 include files to build my AdSense, and they go on every page. Why? Well, number one, AdSense is a little bit based on the number of impressions. It's a very small portion of it, but it is a little bit based on the number of impressions. And the more impressions you have, the more money you make. It's also the more opportunity to get a click. I got one last week. I noticed a $6 click on a page that had 2 visits. So it's like you're widening your chances of getting clicks. If you only put it on your best performing pages, then you're minimizing the opportunity for you to do well. So that's one of the things where I don't really follow what the general, some of the bigger names would say to do with AdSense pages.
Okay, so if you found that it wasn't working for you on a page, would you take it off, or did you just leave it on all the pages regardless?
How do you find if it's not working? I mean, because it's such a random thing whether somebody's going to click or not. Yeah, there's probably, I have a total of around 1,800 pages on my site, and probably only 200 of them actually have got, well, probably about, I think it was 350 of them have got AdSense clicks on them. but really do I want to go through and take them off all those others? I don't want to do that much work. I put it on all because part of the revenue comes from the number of impressions. And if you can maximize that number of impressions, you make more money.
Okay, and would you recommend a good time in which to introduce AdSense if you're going down that road?
Yeah. Great question. Great question. I found that up until I got about 40,000 page views a month, that AdSense really didn't pay. I didn't make any money. Right between the 30 and 40,000 page views a month was the point at which AdSense started to kick in and I started to make money. If you saw, I make about over $1,000 a month in AdSense, so I do pretty well in AdSense. I kind of know how it works. I've through the years I've kind of figured a little bit of it out. Even better than the AdSense people. They sent me a note last month and said, or a couple months ago, and said, if you put a bigger box up at the top, you'll get more revenues. Well, okay, I'll try it. Put a bigger box up there. My revenues went down, lasted about a week, and then I pulled it back off and went back to the normal box because I knew, and I just had to check it out. The 300 by 250 box is what gets the picture ads, and the picture ads in my niche are what get the clicks. When you have the text ads, they don't get clicks. And so when I started seeing the text ads on the 338 by, the bigger one, I said, got to get rid of it.
Okay, so I suppose it depends what kind of site you've got.
Absolutely.
In my case, which would be management skills, you would have more, I think, text links than visual. But of course, your site's all about having a holiday, and they want to see pictures of Disney World and so on. So it fits in better, I'd imagine.
Right, and my best, and this is a double-edged sword. My best AdSense ads are the Disney World ads, the ones from Walt Disney. They make them beautiful. They've got pictures. They move. They're the best ones to have. Well, one of the problems is when people click on those, they go out and they book their trips on Disney, which is not what I want them to do. I want them to book their trips with me. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and that's why I want to move away from AdSense, and I hope to by next year is to get away from AdSense, because I want my monetization to point toward what I want to sell.
Okay, and so I suppose in the meantime, though, if people do want to try it, you just have to test it really, put up a few visual ones, see if they work, then if they try a few text ones, see which ones are performing the best.
Right, absolutely, and you've got to see what works on your site, not what works for somebody else. It's what works in your niche, what works on your site. That's what you need to work towards, because everybody's different. Every site is different.
Okay. Now, we did have another question about how you built your traffic, but I think you'll be coming on to that a bit later on. You'll be talking about Facebook and so on, won't you?
Right.
Yeah. So would you like to keep going? Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to where we were. All right. That's where we were. All right. So the next thing I got right is the look. As you can see, this upper left hand, this picture that's on there now, that was actually my second look. The first look I wouldn't show you, it was so ugly. That was kind of my second look and feel. It wasn't too bad. It was a little rough. I was just when I was first getting started and learning about how to do things. As it progressed, I kept the same basic look and feel. I like the left-hand column with the navigation. A lot of people are talking, well, you just use top navigation and not the left navigation. I've thought about that, but so many people on my site go from one page to another, and they typically use that left-hand navigation. So I'm probably going to leave that on my site. This is my second. This look was up until about a year ago, and about this time last year, I went to this new look. Beautiful look. I paid through the nose for it. It was very expensive and a lot of work to move to that, but it really has helped. In fact, my traffic went up to about 30% when I installed this look. There may have been a couple other factors that went into that, but it definitely has helped as I went to this new look. It could be a good thing to get somebody to design a look if you're like me and you're not very, while I'm very good at putting the visual things together, I'm not real good at how things should look.
And do you think do you think that you should have maybe invested in that earlier, or was it better to wait?
It probably was. I probably did it at about the right time because I was starting. I had the money to do it. I've always taken the money I got and invested it in the site. When I got money and I could do it, I did it. I've spent money over the years on different headers and things like that. But yeah, I don't know that I would have spent that much money up front, because I didn't know if it was the concept was gonna work. Once I figured that, got to a point where it was time to move to the next level, then I spent the money on the look. Spending a little bit is fine to start out with, but I wouldn't spend. And then where I spent a lot of money, it wasn't really necessary to spend that much money. Could have done it for a lot cheaper. It just was a part of a package in some marketing that didn't really work, and it was just part of the package deal. It was kind of expensive. But
okay, thanks.
all right. More about not following the herd. Talked a little bit about the AdSense ads. Another thing is I don't just always do what everybody else says you should do. There's being a Disney person, I love Disney movies, and one of my favorites is Pirates of the Caribbean. And in Pirates of the Caribbean, there's this code that everybody's supposed to follow. And that's pretty much true with what we do. You'll go on the forums and everybody tell you, got to do it this way, got to do it this way. Penguin comes out, you've got to do this, you got to do this. Panda comes out, you've got to take all your ads above the fold off. And if you put them up there, you've got to wrap traffic around them, put them on the left or put them on the right and wrap traffic around them. Wrap text around them. I think that what you're told are guidelines. You have to try what works for you. What works for me right now is the ad at the top of the page, above the fold. It brings in a third or 2/3 of my AdSense revenue per month. Even though I have 2 other ads on my page, it brings in the most revenue by far. And it's not wrapped in text. Did I get a penalty in Panda? No, I've never been touched by Panda. Did I get a penalty in Penguin? No, I didn't get a penalty in Penguin. Penguin was about incoming links and bad incoming links, and everybody was really upset about updowner.net or whatever, and everybody was getting rid of all their updowner links. At the time, I had 3,000 updowner links, and I didn't do anything about it. It didn't make any difference. That I know of. Of course, I didn't go out and get rid of them, so I don't know if I could have done better, but I didn't go down. So, it's what is working on your site. Yes, if I'd gotten a note from, if I'd gotten hit by Penguin, then probably would have done something about it. But since I didn't get hit, I didn't worry about it. You've got to figure out what's working for your niche, for your site, for you. You got to test. You've got to try to figure out how to make your site better. Where can I get better every day? What can I learn that will make me better? What do I need to progress? And if somebody in a forum, and in fact, I used to have problems in the forum because I would go talk about my AdSense and what worked for me, and people say, no, you can't put ads on every page. You can only put them on the high-performing page. Well, no, that's just not true. You get a $6 click, how many clicks are you giving up because you don't put AdSense on every page? So you've got to figure out what works for you. You can follow the rule. In fact, follow the guide, the action guide, when you're starting. Absolutely, word for word. It's the best document you'll find out there to get you started. Follow it religiously, and build from there. Learn what works for you, test what works for you, and see what gets results and what doesn't. I know what gets results on my site right now. Things change all the time, so I'm always testing, I'm always looking, I'm always trying to see what I can do, what I can change, what can make my site better. I'm not always really good at that. One thing I do want to talk about back on this page is number 3, the Disney Hotels page. If you look at that and look at that bounce rate, you'll never see a bounce rate that low. I've never seen one. I can't imagine that anybody's got one. Less than 1%, less than 0.3%. Actually, that's up a little bit there. I had a couple of extra bounces sometime over the year. Some months it's down as low as 0.18%. It's just amazing. But the thing about that page is, number 1, it starts with a beautiful picture, and then it moves into the Disney hotels and just goes through them one by one by one by one, all 25 of them, one at a time, and then there's a link to the page which talks about each hotel. So right off the bat, right at first, it gets into what did the people look for when they came to that page. They came for information about Disney hotels. It goes directly to information about Disney hotels. Now, inside SBI, they talk about 3 tiers, the 3 levels: your home page, your pages that send people to your, the pages that are kind of your traffic cops that send people to other pages. So your tier 2, your tier 1, your tier 2, your navigation pages, your tier 2 navigation pages, and your tier 3 information pages. Well, that Disney hotel is a tier 2 information page. And while it's taken me a long time to learn this lesson, and I'm starting to do some of my other navigation pages like this. Your navigation pages need to be very specific. You might have a little introduction, but then you get right into where you want to send these people to get them to where they want to be. Not a lot of playing around. I tend to write big flowery introductions and big flowery, start rambling a little bit before I get into actually what people want to hear, what the point is of the page. And I'm beginning to learn that, when you get right into it and get people what they want, they click, they click away from this page. The time on page is probably one of my lower times on page, but they are going to other pages on my site, which is the point of the navigation page.
So what you're saying then, maybe just to summarize that then, if you've got a tier 2, make sure that your tier 3 links are kind of like above the fold and that there isn't a long rambling piece of text and the links maybe are hidden further down and people don't actually see them. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would totally agree with that.
One of the other thing I did right was I got some help. Like I said, in 4 hours a day I can't keep up. I've hired 3 27, 28-year-old girls, there's an opportunity, young ladies, because my target audience is ladies, so I've got my help is female. I've got 3 27-year-old, 25, 27-year-old young ladies that help me. One writes my newsletter, one answers my questions for me, and my daughter writes for my blog. So I got some good help. I keep them happy. I try to get them to help me as much as possible. They have other challenges and other time pressures, so they don't help me a lot. They're very part-time. Don't cost me a lot, but I do have some help, and that's one thing. As your time pressures grow, you're probably going to need help. The last thing that I've gotten right is my Facebook page. If you have some time, you want to have some fun, if you like Disney World, go to my Facebook page. It doesn't look at all like this anymore. Every day I put a new picture on my Facebook page. We have a theme of the day, and every day it's different. And so I have a pattern on my themes. But as you can see, I've got almost, right now it's up almost 8,000 likes on my page. Very interactive. People send me pictures, and we post their pictures every day. We talk about their pictures. I'll post 5 to 10 to 15 times a day on my Facebook page for a lot of interaction. And I get 1,500 or so people off of my Facebook page onto my site every month, and some of them are back day after day after day after day. The interaction, the social media, the Facebook page is one of the things I got right. Wow, I just looked at the clock. We better open it up for questions, Ann, before we run out of time.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing we were discussing before as well, Carl, that you know, you want the traffic coming from your social media into your website, not the other way around.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't do a lot. If you look at my site, it's kind of hard to find where to go to my Facebook page, because that's not what I want them doing. I want them coming from Facebook to my site, not the other way around.
Okay. Now, if anyone would like to ask a question, either to myself or to Carl, you know, if you'd like to click on the hand icon there, and then we can unmute you. So we've got time for a couple of questions. Now, we've got a few here. Martha's one of our students here in Ireland. She was one of our first students. Hello, Martha. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, Martha.
Yeah, I can hear you. No, sorry, I have to switch the unmute button on my side. Thanks very much, Kaz. That was a very interesting talk. What I'd like to know is Facebook the only social media you're using, and how frustrating do you find it in view of the spread that's now becoming available, and the apparently there's a lot of battling going on between things like Instagram and Twitter and things like that. How frustrating do you find it in comparison to, say, 2 years ago?
Facebook, yeah, it's become real frustrating, because whereas even as early this year, when I posted something, you know, 1,500 people would see it. 1,000 people, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people would see it, 7,000 people would see it. Now I'm lucky to get 500, 600, 700 people seeing my posts, and that's very frustrating because a lot of my likes have come from Facebook ads that I paid for. So I'm not getting the results that I paid for. But, you know, it's frustrating. I haven't gotten into Twitter yet. I post my postings to Twitter. I have 300, 400, somewhere between 300 and 400 followers on Twitter, but I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter. In fact, I don't spend any time on Twitter. I've focused mainly on Facebook because it's work. I've started Pinterest a little bit. I've gotten, at first I didn't get any response from Pinterest, so I just quit, and then all of a sudden I started getting traffic from Pinterest, even though I haven't touched it in 3 or 4 months. I haven't looked at Instagram. Again, it's a time pressure. What works? I know what works, and I'm spending time on what works. I don't have time to branch out into anything else.
Okay, well that was a great question anyway, Martha. Thanks very much for that. Would anyone else like to ask a question or make a comment maybe? There's such a lot of people. I'm having to do a lot of scrolling to see. Okay, I think the rest of them are all a bit shy tonight now, Carl. Maybe next time. They might take a shot at it. So do you want to go on? There's just 2 more slides left, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. All
Okay.
right, let's see what we got left. Well, this is actually the last one. My bottom line. Every page I end up with the bottom line. Dad's bottom line. It's the bottom of every one of my pages I create. What's the bottom line? The bottom line is it's not easy. It's hard work. It just doesn't happen overnight. That's part of the frustration. You would like for, you know, you think you know everything, you think you're smarter than everybody else. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the smartest person in the world. It's hard work. But if you persist, if you put in the hours, if you put in the time, yes, it'll be frustrating, but it can pay off in the end. I'm hoping this year to, again, go on the pattern where I'm doubling every year. I'm hoping in 2013 that happens again. We'll see. It certainly would be nice. So there is maybe not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but there's a little hope of a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if you just keep after it. It might get frustrating, but if you feel like you're doing things right, it'll pay off in the end. And I think,
Okay. Oops, sorry. Yeah, okay, Carl. Well, that's great. Now, there's been a number of other questions that have come in on the chat window, but I think the best thing to do with those is that if we'll email everybody and give the answers to those, because, you know, I'd hate to lose them as well, because there's some really good questions coming in. So I'd just like to finish then by saying thanks a million, Carl, for spending all of your valuable time. I know you haven't much spare time on sharing what's worked for you, because I think it's really valuable, especially here in Ireland now. We've had a lot of students go through the site sale process, and they've all built wonderful fledgling sites. And I know one of the biggest barriers they face is that they think, oh, I'm going, just as you did a couple of years back, it's not going anywhere, it's not growing fast enough, I'm not making anything, why don't I just give up? So you really do have to be very dogged and just put the work in and you know, stick with it, listen to what your visitors are telling you, and try and go down the right path. Now, for those of you that maybe did a course at the beginning of last year, I've just to, you know, I set up a website there, Get a Business Online, in the last couple of months, and we've started a subscription list on there. So if you scroll down to the bottom of all the pages, you'll see a subscribe box. So I would suggest, you know, sign up for that, because we're going to be having these webinars on a regular basis, because we want to get more inspiring people like Carl to come and talk to us, and also you'll hear about, you know, upcoming training sessions that we're running. Hey, so that's all I have to say. Thanks so much for all the lovely comments that have been coming in from everybody. Really appreciate it. It's our first one. Again, delighted to have Carl. You were really great tonight, Carl. Really insightful, very interesting. Thank you.